So indictments for Trump is in the works, and it's possible that he's going to be arrested. And Trump claims that he is going to be arrested on Tuesday. It is predicted that by next week, yeah, he is going to be arrested, and he's telling people to protest his arrest.
Okay, so now back to that Fox News alert. Former President Trump saying this morning that he will be arrested on Tuesday. Trump said that on Truth Social. He said, in fact,
quote, the far and away leading Republican candidate and former president of the United States of America will be arrested next week. Protests take our nation back. Fox News legal analyst Greg Jarrett is here to react. Greg, break this down for us.
Well, I wrote a column about this because you could see this coming a mile away. It's purely politically driven by Alvin Bragg. And I describe this as the most cockamamie legal theory I think I've ever heard of. Forget about the fact that this is a 7-year-old case and the statute of limitations appears to have elapsed 2 years ago. But the legal theory is something that is not just novel, it seems abusive of the legal system. Here it is in a nutshell. Take a business records misdemeanor and try to transform it, to supercharge it into a felony by attaching to it a second crime. Now, what is the second crime? That's the question we don't know. It can only be one of two things: a campaign violation under state law or federal law. Here's the problem. It can't be a campaign violation under state law because it was a federal election. And it can't really be a campaign violation under U.S. statutory campaign laws because Bragg is a Manhattan DA. Local and state prosecutors can't bring charges on federal crimes, only state crimes. In addition to all of that, there are other problems. Bragg would have to prove that Trump was personally involved in falsifying business records. Second of all, he'd have to prove that Trump understood the incredibly complex and convoluted campaign laws that nobody understands.
Okay, no, ignorance of the law is not like protection from the law. Just because you don't understand that it's illegal to use campaign finances to pay off prostitutes doesn't mean you get to go off scot-free.
And that, having known them, he intended to violate them. And then finally, they'd have to get around what's known as the dual purpose doctrine. That is to say, if Trump had a personal reason or even a commercial reason for paying the money to Stormy Daniels, then it is not under the law a campaign contribution, and he didn't violate anything.
So I guess, according to this dude, it's okay for politicians to use campaign finances that are supposed to use to be campaigning to hire prostitutes. That doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
The Department of Justice spent years looking at it. The Federal Elections Commission looked at it, and they both said the law isn't there and the facts don't support it. In addition, Bragg's predecessor spent years trying to find something related to the Stormy Daniels payment, and in the end walked away saying there is nothing. So, I think it's a shame that the justice system is being used for politically driven prosecutions. I think Bragg sees him.
Right, that's funny. You're upset that the justice system is being used politically when right-wingers use the system politically all the time.
Himself is, we've got to stop Trump. I'm going to be the savior of the republic. Frankly, given the rampant crime in Manhattan, New Yorkers need saving from Alvin Bragg.
Hey, Greg, let me ask you what Tuesday may look like. Alvin Bragg has driven bail reform in New York City. New York City is a no-cash bail justice system, so I presume that means President Trump, if arrested according to his own Truth Social post, how would his Tuesday unfold?
Well, he'll get bail. He still has Secret Service protection, as I understand it. Bragg's office notified federal officials, the Secret Service, and the Secret Service is not going to let go of the president they're protecting, even though he's a former president.
Yeah, if the government is like, yeah, we're arresting this dude, it's not like the Secret Service can then just go start fighting the government to keep this guy from going to jail.
And so this will be arranged. He'll probably be fingerprinted, and then he would be released on bail. Alvin Bragg has downgraded serious felonies to misdemeanors in Manhattan. That's his MO. The day he took office, he signed his manifesto. Armed robbery? Nah, it's just a petty misdemeanor.
If what you're saying is true and there isn't a legal basis for this after the arrest, what happens immediately after that? He makes bail. Then what happens as far as Trump proving his innocence, or what's the next step after that?
Yeah, he makes bail, and then he still has to go to court and stuff. Just because you make bail doesn't mean, your charges or anything, or, go away. It just means you don't have to stay in jail until you go to court.
Well, there would have to be an arraignment in which there's a presentment of the charges against him. He has an opportunity to enter a plea, and then the case begins in earnest. He'll plead not guilty, of course. And I think the first thing his lawyers will do is to challenge the merits, the veracity of the charge against him and the law, just as I've described, that you cannot take a state crime and supercharge it into a felony, a misdemeanor into a felony, based on a federal law, if that's how this thing goes down. Now, maybe Bragg is somehow going to, say, oh, it was a violation of state campaign laws, in which case there will still be a motion to dismiss by Trump and his legal team to toss this case out.
Yeah, they can request to have it dismissed, and the judge can be like, nah, I'm not going to dismiss this.
Based on the frailty of that argument. So, there'll be a bunch of legal challenges before it ever, gets to trial, if it ever gets to trial. And there will be appeals as well. Now, I was talking to Alan Dershowitz about this, and he said, look, Trump's problem, and Dersh is right, Trump's problem is you've got, a biased New York prosecutor, you probably got a biased jury, and just as you can convince a grand jury to indict a ham sandwich, as Dershowitz said, you could probably convince a New York jury to convict a ham sandwich.
Yeah, usually that's what a jury and a grand jury is supposed to be doing, looking at evidence and seeing if a person should be convicted of their crime. So it's like, what is your point here?
And so, Dershowitz said Trump's best course of action will eventually be on appeal.
Can I ask you just the politics behind this? So, as you said, maybe with this jury, they're gonna, he'll come out convicted or whatever. What does that do for his ability to run? Will he look like a victim in this situation come Tuesday? Will that work out for him in some way, as it did in Mar-a-Lago? His ratings shot up after that.
Oh, so Trump is wanting to use the victim card, huh? I thought it was only black people that like to pretend to be victims.
Well, there's a legal and a political aspect to it, obviously. I mean, I think, when people begin to digest what Alvin Bragg, the district attorney, has really done here, and they begin to appreciate this for what it is, a political vendetta, an effort to stop Trump from continuing further with his presidential campaign, I think Americans will probably say this is fundamentally unfair, and there'll be a backlash, and that may result.
Right, because people on the left are going to be like, yeah, it's unfair that Trump is being charged for his crimes. We don't like that. No, it's only the right wing that's going to care, because they want him to be free of any crimes because none of them think Trump can commit crimes whatsoever.
Result in even more support for Donald Trump. However, a conviction would be troublesome. If, he ends up being convicted, as I understand the law, he can't hold public office, including the presidency. I haven't studied that, so I can't say that for sure. I mean, a misdemeanor you probably can. A felony, probably not.
Well, yeah. Just like how Republicans love to deny people rights for their felons. Yeah, it's great that Trump can't run for president if he becomes a felon.
All right. Well, Greg, Jared, thanks for joining us.